Get the unmissable news stories of the day.
This is the Beijing Hour.
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host.
Tian Lu with you on this Wednesday, August 19th, 2026. You're listening to the Beijing Hour, coming to you live from the Chinese capital. On today's program, the Macao Special Administrative Region has unveiled its third five-year plan for economic and social development. China's Zhuzhe-3 rocket has made history with the country's first land-based recovery of a first-stage booster. And technologies have opened new avenues for China-Africa media cooperation. In business, the 2026 World Robot Conference showcases China's fast-growing robotics industry. In sports, world number 1 Arena Sabalenka's 50th WTA 1000 win. In culture and entertainment, a new Spider-Man poster with elements of traditional Chinese culture. Now checking today's top stories. The Macao Special Administrative Region has unveiled its third five-year plan for 2026 to 2030, charting the next phase of the region's economic and social development. The document sets out 35 major economic and social development indicators and defines 8 development goals. They include fully implementing national security guidelines, further improving governance under the rule of law, and making substantial progress in economic diversification. Other goals cover the integrated development of education, science, technology, and talent, steadily improving residents' well-being and making important progress in building a beautiful and a smart Macau. Wang So-chak is the Secretary for Administration and Justice of the Macao SAR government. He says enhancing the effectiveness of law-based governance is critical to delivering the goals and tasks of the third five-year plan.
Public administration reform is a key pillar of the third five-year plan. It is a primary and essential initiative for enhancing government effectiveness and advancing good governance. An efficient, streamlined, and coordinated public administration system is the cornerstone of an effective government. The Macao SAR government will strengthen macro-level coordination, improve organizational structure, streamline administrative procedures, and remove bottlenecks so as to build a clean, efficient, and proactive, modern, service-oriented government.
Wang adds that the alignment on the institutional innovation is vital for the integrated development of Hengqin and Macau. He says such alignment is a key lever for future growth, but also the hardest challenge to overcome.
The alignment under institutional innovation is vital for the integrated development of Hengqin and Macau, a key lever for future growth, and also the hardest challenge to overcome. The Macao SAR government will spare no effort in advancing the high-quality development of the cooperation zone in its second phase, strengthen alignment with the existing plans and policy documents, and focus on key areas such as people's livelihood and industries. It will foster a high-quality rule of law environment and promote the alignment of rules in market access, factor mobility, standards, accreditation and certification, and industry regulation, thereby supporting the integrated development of Macau and Hengqin.
That was Wang So-chak, the Secretary for Administration and Justice of the Macao SAR government. Officials and community leaders from Macau say the city's third five-year plan aligns with national development and charts a promising path for the Special Administrative Region. They say it serves not only as the guiding document for Macau's economic and social development, but also sets shared goals for communities and residents across the region. Chong Chok-man is the Director of Policy Research and Regional Development Bureau of the Macau SAR government. He says the third five-year plan aligns Macau's development with the national 15th five-year plan.
The third five-year plan is based on thorough research into new strategies, policies, priorities, and key projects outlined under the National 15th Five-Year Plan. It takes into account the local needs of Macau and Hengqin and leverages Macau's strengths and capacities to help meet national goals. This connection ensures that the third five-year plan aligns closely with the National 15th Five-Year Plan. Compared to previous five-year plans, this new plan demonstrates a broader strategic vision, more practical solutions, and a stronger capacity for implementation. It reflects the Macau SAR government's commitment and confidence in achieving high-quality development in this new era.
Wang Chichoi is the chair of Macau New Chinese Association. He says the plan offers clear development paths for young people and opportunities in sectors like tech and tourism.
The third five-year plan outlines a new development strategy for Macau and provides clearer pathways for the city's young people. It focuses on helping youth grow and succeed. What young talent needs most are opportunities and platforms to thrive. We believe that Macau's youth will find more opportunities to advance in fields such as technology, digital economy, culture, tourism, and exhibitions. Meanwhile, Hengqin offers even broader avenues for youth development. We need to take proactive steps to integrate into and contribute to national development strategies, leveraging the strengths of one country, two systems in Macau alongside Hengqin's unique advantages. This will enable us to pursue our goals and chase our dreams in the Greater Bay Area.
Businesses have leveraged Macau's international ties and mainland resources for decades. Such a model is entering a new phase, with neighboring Zhuhai playing an increasingly vital role in Macau's development. Huang Fei has more.
It started as a small experiment in craft brewing nearly 3 decades ago. Now, these bottles carry an iconic name in Asia's beverage industry.
Macau beer was first introduced by an American individual, a young person from the U.S. He started his garage factory, a little brewery in Colombia Island in 1996. And at that time, craft beer was something very new to Asia.
Over the years, this small garage brewery has changed hands several times. Today, it's a highly automated, eco-friendly factory in Zhuhai, just 30 minutes from the Macau border. Charles Choi's family became part owners in 2018, a year before Beijing introduced the Greater Bay Area Initiative, linking Hong Kong and Macau with 9 cities in Guangdong to form an integrated economic hub.
The Greater Bay Area concept, it's not new, because we have been doing that for many years. In 2003, the gaming concessions were open, large flow of capital coming into Macau to do more high-end business on hotels and integrated resorts. We had the need to move our brewery to a place where we could have larger space and get our workforce easier, which is Zhuhai.
Zhuhai offered another critical advantage, an exclusive source of natural mineral water, ideal for making beer.
We have our global procurement system, which can sort of weather out a lot of this supply and also pricing problem.
Globalization runs deep in Zhuhai's history. As one of China's first 4 special economic zones, it has welcomed foreign investment for over 4 decades.
Well, Zhuhai has always been a front runner in China's reform and opening up policy. In fact, late Chinese leader Deng Xiaoping highlighted this during his first visit to the city and to the Zhuhai beer factory in 1984. Today, business ties between Zhuhai and Macau are increasing, with manufacturing, technologies, and services industries all benefiting from closer cross-border integration.
Macau is not only the free port and separate customs tariff, and also we are designated by the central government as the platform between China and Portuguese-speaking countries, nearly 300 million population, which is a huge market.
Under Macau's third five-year plan, the city aims to raise the share of non-gaming sectors to approximately 60% of GDP by 2030. As Macau presses ahead with economic diversification, Zhuhai and the Hengqin Cooperation Zone are taking on an increasingly important role by bringing together Macau's international strengths with resources and opportunities across the border. The partnership is creating new avenues for growth and development.
That was Huang Fei reporting. Coming up, China's Zhuzhou 3 rocket has made history with the country's first land-based recovery of a first-stage booster.
Do you have a story about China? We want to hear from you. Maybe China has become your second home. Maybe it has brought you new friendships, creative partnerships, or a new path in life. We are inviting people from the U.S. to share their real stories and experiences with China. No expertise needed, just your authentic voice. Your story could be featured in our Hello from the Other Shore podcast coming this September. Share your name, city, and story with us. Email us at radio@cgtn.com.
Now it's 10 minutes past the hour. A reusable rocket flight test in northwest China has marked a new step in the country's commercial space development. The Zhuque-3 Y2 rocket sent its payload into orbit while its first stage completed a planned land recovery procedure. Sun Ye has the story.
Another breakthrough in China's rocket development. On Wednesday, China's reusable Zhuque-3 Y2 rocket lifted off from the Dongfeng Commercial Space Innovation Pilot Zone in northwest China. It sent the Honghu 3 satellite into its designated orbit. But the more eye-catching part is this. Less than 10 minutes after launch, the rocket's first stage successfully completed this planned land recovery procedure, and the flight test mission was declared a complete success. The mission marked China's first flight verification of land recovery for the first stage of a reusable launch vehicle. It also achieved the country's first successful verification of landing using deployable landing legs. Landspace, the company behind the Zhuque-3 rocket, is already looking ahead.
This mission achieves a breakthrough in the first step toward making rockets recoverable, reusable, and operational. Recovery is the most important foundation for subsequent reuse and operation. At present, the Zhuque-3 rocket is designed to meet the technical requirements of reusing its first stage 20 times. In the operational phase, the goal is to bring spaceflight close to aviation, to make rocket launches and landings more like airplane operations, with an optimal balance of frequency, reliability, and safety.
Zhuque-3 is among a growing number of China's domestically developed reusable rockets. Being able to reuse a rocket could reduce launch costs, increase launch frequencies, crucial as China's commercial space sector expands and global demands for launch services grow.
We will serve both the domestic and international commercial satellite launch markets, meeting demand for missions such as satellite rideshares and the deployment of specific commercial satellite constellations.
This successful test mission is viewed as an important step in China's reusable rocket development, and more flight tests for the country's reusable rockets are expected in the coming months.
That was Sun Ye reporting. Some experts say the launch of the Zhuque-3 reusable carrier rocket helps drive down costs and support the country's major commercial space mission requirements. Chair Yang Yuguang of the Space Transportation Committee of the International Astronautical Federation is one of them.
Methane, likewise a hydrocarbon propellant, has a far shorter carbon chain than kerosene. That means it is significantly less susceptible to coking during combustion, thus saving maintenance costs. To stainless steel used for rocket airframe, the inexpensive material takes otherwise very highly sophisticated fabricating techniques to ensure a super-thin rocket surface capable of withstanding highly complex structural stresses. Such capability is in line with the overall manufacturing prowess of a country.
Yang Kewei with the China Center for Information Industry Development expects launch service providers to pivot to new areas of competition.
As large, reusable liquid fuel rockets successively complete their maiden flights and enter commercial service, they have created a relatively ample supply in the 8 to 20 ton low Earth orbit payload capacity segment, which is expected to alleviate the structural bottleneck of satellite-heavy, launch-constrained capacity and insufficient lift that has plagued low Earth orbit satellite internet constellation deployment. The competitive focus among launch service providers will shift from per-launch pricing to launch cadence and window assurance, as well as end-to-end mission solutions.
That was Yang Kewei with the China Center for Information Industry Development. Coming up, technologies have opened new avenues for China-Africa media cooperation.
Discover the realities and responses to our changing climate with Climate Watch. Uncover critical issues such as the Masai Mara's disrupted wildebeest migration and the drop in the Panama Canal's water levels. Delve into solutions for a sustainable future. Tune in to Climate Watch on your favorite podcast platform. Become more eco-conscious and take action to protect our planet.
Now it's 15 minutes past the hour. African media professionals are calling for deeper and more practical cooperation with their Chinese counterparts as digital platforms and artificial intelligence reshape how stories are produced and shared. Gao Junya reports.
At the 7th China-Africa Media Cooperation Forum in Beijing, African journalists say closer exchanges could help both sides better understand each other, as new technologies are creating fresh opportunities for African newsrooms. Nigerian journalist Michael Onjawu believes media cooperation starts with something fundamental, helping audiences understand what is actually happening between China and Africa.
Now, the role of media is strategic in the sense that without proper media, there are negative stereotypes about countries. But with proper media cooperation, we can begin to tell the true stories about China-Africa relationship.
Technology is adding another dimension to that cooperation. Zimbabwean political commentator Derek Goto says AI is already making media production faster and less costly, while affordable Chinese AI models are making that technology increasingly accessible to African newsrooms.
For Africa, DeepSeek, for example, you want to do your research, it's free, so any newsroom can use it. You want to do your scripting. So that accessibility in terms of pricing, I think is a real game changer, not just for Africa, but for the world at large.
Ugandan journalist Razia Athman adds that greater use of AI also raises questions about credibility, governance, and the future role of journalists.
AI cannot take the human touch of journalism or of media. I don't see a time when AI will ever do that. I don't think so. So it does help, and it's going to help us, but we have to regulate its use.
As part of the forum program, journalists also visited RedNote, a popular Chinese social media platform where they saw firsthand how social media is allowing Chinese and African voices to reach audiences directly. Athman says such platforms can open new channels, not only for communication, but also for business and people-to-people exchanges.
With the discovery and formulation of new platforms like RedNote, I think the most important thing, especially for young people who hold the biggest market, they have the money, they move the money, these are our buyers. I think for them, social media will help with access, direct access and relationship. And it works both ways, not just for a Chinese being able to access the market in Uganda or Africa, but so many Africans are also looking for ways of getting into the Chinese market.
The tools for telling China-Africa stories are evolving, and as those tools become more accessible, the opportunity is growing for Chinese and African media to tell their stories more directly and in their own voices. For the Beijing Hour, I'm Gao Junya.
Humanitarian aid sent by China has arrived in Colombia, carrying emergency supplies for the victims of last week's deadly earthquake. The supplies include generators, water purification gear, and shelter materials. Michelle Begay reports from Bogota.
At Beijing Capital International Airport, Pallets of emergency supplies were loaded onto a chartered flight bound for Colombia. Generators, mobile water purification vehicles, and disinfection equipment were packed alongside solar-powered lights, tents, and blankets. The items are urgently needed in a country facing the enormous challenge of recovery. Thanks to China, help is on the way. The shipment left Beijing on Tuesday, beginning a journey across the world to reach Colombian communities hit hardest by the earthquake. I'm outside Bogotá's El Dorado International Airport, where a shipment of humanitarian aid from China has arrived after a 20-hour flight. But Bogotá is not its final destination. From here, the supplies will be transported by road to Cali, one of the cities hardest hit by last week's earthquake. When the shipment arrived in the Colombian capital, people on the streets of Bogotá had their own message for those who sent it.
This is excellent. The earthquake was devastating, and we are thankful to China and everyone who is helping and putting their grain of sand.
Thankful for this help. Any help is going to be helpful from people and countries. This is solidarity and the unity of the world.
I ask that the people who are without home don't lose hope. Have faith that things will get better.
Their gratitude reflects the scale of this emergency. A UN report says the quake affected 135,000 people and destroyed 13,000 homes. Across the affected region, families remain in tents and temporary shelters, uncertain about when or whether they will be able to return home. For those families, Chinese generators will get the lights back on after dark. Water purifiers will provide clean drinking water. Tents will give shelter to the homeless. As the mayor of Cali says, Colombia is entering a new phase.
Many thanks to China, its government and its people for supporting Cali and Colombia at this difficult time. We're now entering the reconstruction phase in Cali. But reconstruction cannot simply mean returning to the Cali we had 10 days ago. We need to build the Cali of the future, a resilient city, a forward-looking city, an inclusive city, and a city for our young people. The experience of friendly countries such as China will certainly be very important and very welcome.
This shipment will address immediate needs, but providing safe shelter and rebuilding damaged communities will require sustained support.
Now, as Michelle Begay reporting. A central Chinese city is hosting the third China Latin America and Caribbean Development Forum this week. The forum in Zhengzhou comes as two-way trade has hit record highs, and the two sides are looking beyond just commodities. Ning Hong reports.
China, Latin America, and the Caribbean trade reached an all-time high of $565 billion in 2025. But delegates here say the real story is no longer just about the numbers.
If you see the numbers around the economy, you can find that the relation between China and our region is very strong. Of course, in trade, that is one of the main parts of the economical relation, but also in investment, also in new ways of investment related with energy, mining. What we have to find is new bridges between not only national governments, also local ones, and of course between people to people. That's why we are here, talking people to people, trying to know more about the ground here in Zhengzhou.
That shift from trade toward investment, energy, and infrastructure.
Regions like Latin America and the Caribbean have, in recent years, developed quite a lot of trade with China. This is very important, but it is not enough. Now we have to raise the quality of this kind of relationship, the quality of trade, the quality of logistics. That is why it is so important for Brazil, for my country, to be here, taking part in this event, sharing ideas, and beginning to build a stronger joint agenda between Latin America and the Caribbean and China.
The forum comes as Ecuador's president visits China, marking 10 years of a comprehensive strategic partnership. According to China's General Administration of Customs, bilateral trade reached $17.3 billion in 2025, up 24% year-on-year. For China and Latin American countries that call themselves good friends and good partners, the next chapter is clear: building bridges, not just moving goods.
That was Ning Hong reporting. US President Donald Trump has denied any conversations are taking place or are scheduled with Iran. He says the Strait of Hormuz is open and operating, and the US naval blockade of Iran remains in full force. On Monday, President Trump said Washington was engaged in back-channel conversations with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. From Washington, D.C., here's Nick Harper.
It's very difficult to achieve peace if nobody's talking. Donald Trump confirming on social media that is the state of play. Bear in mind, in recent weeks, he has made a number of assertions that have been countered by Iran that US-Iran talks are still ongoing, but making it very clear in this latest social media post where he says there are no talks or conversations going on or scheduled. The naval blockade remains in full force and effect. The Hormuz Strait is open and operating, also saying that any mines have been removed or detonated. Now, we do know that peace talks have hit a number of roadblocks, not least of all the fact that the US and Iran have still not worked out what happens to those Iranian stockpiles of uranium. But there has been a new problem that has arisen in recent weeks, and that is the Strait of Hormuz. Donald Trump in that post saying that it remains open. Iran, though, saying it remains closed and will do so until the US upholds its commitments that it made back in June. Things like lifting that naval blockade. Donald Trump in his post said that would not happen. Also lifting oil sanctions, unfreezing Iranian assets, all the type of things that the US so far has not done. So Iran says the strait remains closed. Remember, Iran and Oman are working out a limited deal to try and work out some safe passage for some ships. We've heard from Qatar's foreign ministry spokesperson talking about this, saying that strait agreement needs to be done first. It would be easier if that was achieved between Iran and Oman, and then Iran can speak to the United States and deal with those longer-term issues. So still plenty to be resolved, but no talks taking place.
That was Nick Harper reporting. Iran's top negotiator says the Strait of Hormuz will remain shut until the US meets the conditions of an interim deal signed in June. Tehran has also rejected claims by Abu Dhabi that 2 ballistic missiles were launched from Iran toward the UAE on Tuesday. Ehsan Kivani reports from Tehran.
The real concern right now is the U.S. naval blockade. For days, Iranian officials, including the top negotiators, have also been saying that a deal with Oman on traffic routes through the Strait of Hormuz has been finalized, but we haven't seen any official announcement yet, and that only adds to the current confusion. What's really hurting Tehran is the blockade's impact on oil exports, which has slashed state revenue. The government can't pay salaries on time in many sectors. Inflation is nearing 3 digits, and the national currency rial is at record lows. Facing that, the supreme leader is pushing for a more aggressive stance rather than a defensive one. Tehran warns that if the U.S. blockade continues, they will shift to an offensive approach. And we are seeing signs, in fact. Vessels are being targeted in the Straits, although Iran has not claimed responsibility for the recent attacks. Monday's drone attack in the Kurdistan region in Iraq, for example, was dismissed by Iran as a kind of false flag meant to frame them. So right now we are in a no war, no peace limbo, and no one can predict whether conflict or a lasting deal is coming. Analysts point to deep divisions inside Iran's political and military establishment over whether to show any flexibility. Given this standoff, which is unprecedented for the Islamic Republic of Iran, they just can't agree on a unified path forward. As I said, there are clear divisions between different factions of power, inside Iran.
That was Esin Kivani reporting. Now it's 29 minutes past the hour, checking the forecast before the break. Beijing will be cloudy tonight, tomorrow thunder showers, the low is 23 and it's up to 30 Thursday. Shanghai will be overcast tonight, tomorrow light rain with a low of 27 and a high of 31. Chongqing will be overcast tonight, tomorrow light rain with a low of 26 and a high of 35. Nanchang will be cloudy tonight and tomorrow with a low of 28 and a high of 35. Lhasa will have light rain tonight and tomorrow with a low of 11 and a high of 21. Now it's time for a short break. So far this hour, the Macao Special Administrative Region has unveiled its third five-year plan for economic and social development. China's Zhuque 3 rocket has made history with the country's first land-based recovery of a first-stage booster. Tian Lu with you. Stay with here on the Beijing Hour.
The transition to a greener future is no longer a distant goal. It's happening now. In power plants, factories, farms and cities across China. As the world grapples with climate change, energy security and the growing demand for electricity, China is searching for new ways to cut emissions while keeping its economy moving. Across the country, our reporters visit renewable energy hubs, industrial centers, and agricultural communities to see what that transformation looks like in practice. Through first-hand stories and on-the-ground reporting, we explore the opportunities, the challenges, and the ideas shaping China's green transition. Listen to China's Green Code, Rewriting the Rules of Growth, a special series from Climate Watch, available wherever you get your podcasts.
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host.
Tian Lu with you on this Wednesday. Still to come, in business, the 2026 World Robot Conference showcases China's fast-growing robotics industry. In sports, world number 1 Arena Sabalenka's 50th WTA 1000 win. In culture and entertainment, a new Spider-Man poster with elements of traditional Chinese culture. To contact us, you can email radio@cgtn.com or follow our X account @cgtn radio. You're also welcome to subscribe to our Substack newsletter Beyond Beijing for the world's biggest stories, along with sharp insights and exclusive analysis. But first, checking today's headline news, here's Tian Yu.
Thank you, Tian Lu. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi has met with his Chilean counterpart Francisco Perez Mackenna in Beijing. Wang said Chile has always been at the forefront among Latin American and Caribbean countries in developing relations with China. He also stressed China's willingness to deepen bilateral ties in the context of the APEC China Year. The Chilean foreign minister said developing relations with China is part of Chile's national policy and that Chile is willing to expand cooperation in areas such as technological innovation and artificial intelligence. China says it is ready to work with the international community to support a political settlement and lasting peace in Libya. At the UN Security Council, Chinese UN Ambassador Fu Cong expressed deep concern over recent violent clashes, calling on all sides to exercise maximum restraints and cease all violent attacks.
China calls on all parties with the support of the United Nations to intensify consultations, bridge their differences and reach agreement as soon as possible on the relevant matters set out in the roadmap, thereby paving the way for national elections.
Fu warned that divided state institutions and delays in holding elections continue to undermine Libya's long-term development and the well-being of its people. Meanwhile, Libya's UN ambassador Tahir al-Sani also blamed years of political turmoil partly on foreign interference.
This continued struggle for years came due to different foreign interferences. This crisis was used for particular proxy wars and specific agendas, and the proof is before your eyes in so many other countries. Therefore, we call upon you once again for positive international partnership, a partnership on equal footing that respects the will and sovereignty of the Libyan people.
Libya has made progress in its political process and increased its oil and gas revenues. But deep political divisions, security challenges, and economic pressures continue to threaten the country's stability. China has successfully launched the Zhuzhue-3 reusable carrier rocket, achieving the country's first-ever rocket recovery on land. The recovery of the rocket's first stage marks another major breakthrough in China's reusable rocket technology. It comes after the successful sea-based net recovery of the Long March 10B's first stage in July. The Zhuzhue-3's first stage uses deployable landing legs, which enable vertical landing and reuse after liftoff. Experts say the rocket's recovery helps drive down costs and support China's major commercial space mission requirements. Turning to Japan, Japanese media reports say the country's defense ministry is considering a large-scale organizational expansion in fiscal 2027. The Asahi Shimbun says the plan will involve creating 3 new bureaus, including the Defense Infrastructure Bureau, the International Policy Bureau, and the Facilities Policy Bureau. The report says such a large-scale expansion is uncommon for the Japanese government. The proposed expansion adds the 3 new bureaus without closing any existing departments. The Russian Foreign Ministry has summoned the Japanese ambassador and lodged a strong protest over remarks by Japanese leaders about Russian President Vladimir Putin's visit to Iturup Island, part of the southern Kuril Islands, which Japan calls the Northern Territories. Ambassador Akira Muto stayed inside the Russian Foreign Ministry building for about 20 minutes and did not take questions from the media. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said Japanese leaders should focus on domestic affairs rather than attacking Russia. Lavrov said Japan and its close ally the U.S. are seeking to rewrite international law according to their wishes. He also accused Japan of attempting to evade historical responsibility for crimes it committed and expressed concern over its moves to loosen constitutional constraints and expand the overseas activities of its self-defense forces.
Thank you very much. And that was Tianyu with headlines. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in business, the 2026 World Robot Conference showcases China's fast-growing robotics industry.
The Beijing Hour, your window on China and the rest of the world.
36 minutes past the hour, turning to business. Here's Wang Zhang.
Thank you, Tianlu. Stock markets on the Chinese mainland closed lower on Wednesday. The Shanghai Composite was down by 2.4%. The Shenzhen Component fell 5%. In Hong Kong, the Hang Seng Index remained almost flat. Japan's Nikkei lost more than 3%. The 2026 World Robot Conference has opened in Beijing, showcasing more than 3,000 exhibits and over 300 newly launched robotic products. The 5-day event has brought together more than 300 exhibitors and 69% increase from last year. Across 4 pavilions, robots are demonstrating applications in manufacturing, healthcare, retail, and emergency rescue. The conference is also launching a global program to provide mass-produced robots to innovation teams for free trials, while a robot consumer street offers visitors interactive experiences combining technology, food, and culture. Vice Minister of Industry and Information Technology Xin Guobin says China will focus on key technologies and expand real-world applications.
In the first half of this year, revenue of major robotics firms reached 165.5 billion yuan, up 24.5%. We will zero in on core components and embodied intelligence, bridge research with production, and speed up tech upgrades through large-scale application in new scenarios.
Now, for more on this year's World Robot Conference in Beijing, Vivian Nunes spoke to Professor Guy Keke from the School of AI at Beijing Institute of Technology.
Can you tell us what are the highlights of this year's World Robot Conference?
I think this year's conference has clearly grown in both the scale and the quality of exhibits. What stood out to me was that the exhibition was not just about showcasing finished robotic products. It also featured a wide array of modular components for different segments of the industry. This is a very strong signal that the industry's supply chain has matured to a significant scale and that a truly competitive ecosystem is now taking shape. Meanwhile, we are seeing marked improvements in the diversity and the capability of the robots themselves, with more and more products designed for very specific real-world tasks. So that's a very positive sign of the industry's ongoing evolution and upgrading.
And this year's conference features a procurement day, and it also launches an initiative to explore robots applications. Does this mean we're seeing the robotics industry transition from a kind of tech muscle show to real business applications?
But that's a very interesting question. I see this as at least a very positive market signal. In fact, from technical standpoint, companies have been searching for a genuinely meaningful large-scale deployment scenarios for robots for quite some time. Well, market acceptance of robots always goes through its own adjustment periods. So compared to previous conferences, this year's event takes place a much stronger emphasis on commercial viability and real business operations. This shift is the collective result of multidimensional progress, like in technology, in products maturity, and in market readiness. After all, technologies and products ultimately need to iterate and upgrade based on real feedback from the market.
And humanoid robots are now performing real-world factory work. Would you say, though, that there's still a bottleneck that prevents them from reaching mass production delivery?
But from my perspective, if we consider what the final product should be or what the market ultimately expects, today's humanoid robots still have considerable room for evolution. So this growth will need to happen across multiple dimensions. But if I were to highlight one particularly critical bottleneck, at this stage, it would be the challenge of acquiring large-scale, high-quality data.
That was Professor Guy Keke from Beijing Institute of Technology. Unitree Robotics shares skyrocketed on their Shanghai debut on Wednesday, closing 460% higher after soaring as much as 629% in early trading. Shares closed at 845 yuan apiece. The Chinese robot maker raised nearly 6.1 billion yuan, or around $905 million in its initial public offering. According to its prospectus, Unitree ranked first globally in humanoid robot sales last year, with more than 5,500 units sold. It also dominates the global market for four-legged robots. Unitree's investors include Chinese AI company DeepSeek and tech giant Tencent. The company becomes the largest high-profile name to list on Shanghai Star Market, following memory chip maker CXMT's listing last month. Now, China's fast-growing humanoid robot sector is fueling a surge in demand for dexterous robotic hands, with industry players reporting higher sales, lower costs, and wider use of tactile sensing technology. At a production workshop in Shenzhen, manufacturers are working at full capacity as orders for robotic hands increase. General Manager Ge Pengyao of Shenzhen Lingqiao Drive and Control Technology says advances in sensor technology are making robotic hands more capable of interacting with objects.
From
January to now, we have sold over 4,000 dexterous hands, more than double the figure compared with the same period last year. Our dexterous hands now come equipped with our flexible tactile sensors. For example, when I touch or grab an object with my fingers, it can sense the magnitude and direction of the force applied.
The rapid adoption of electronic skin technology has also boosted production among sensor makers as companies move from research and testing to large-scale manufacturing. Xun Gengchao, General Manager of SciSense Technology, says demand has grown rapidly.
Our sales from January to now have increased tenfold compared with last year. Our production capacity has become insufficient, so we've put new production lines into operation this year. The price of flexible tactile sensors has also dropped by about 30%.
Industry data shows China's dexterous hand market is expected to grow from around 19,200 units in 2025 to more than 70,000 units this year. Sales are projected to exceed 430,000 units by 2030 as humanoid robots expand into more application scenarios. The European Union is stepping up efforts to become a global leader in artificial intelligence. With billions in plans and investment, the EU is trying to catch up with the United States and China. William Denslow reports from Brussels.
Swarm robotics in action, independent machines working together to achieve a common goal. The European Union has a similar objective: how 27 member states can best use their resources to become the first artificial intelligence continent.
We should ask ourselves the question of is it really important to be centralized or to be driven by strong innovators, or rather to have a fragmented ecosystem that allows for more creativity, but also that if one idea works somewhere, we can replicate it, then it validates that idea.
Whatever the answer, the EU aims to provide the tools for Europe to unlock its potential. The blocs launched a call for tenders to generate more than $30 billion in investment to set up 7 AI gigafactories.
Europe wants to become the first AI continent, and because we will give our startups, SMEs, industry, researchers and public authorities the necessary infrastructure to build the most advanced AI models.
For the EU, this strategy is about being more competitive on the global stage. Roughly 80% of Europe's digital services and infrastructure currently comes from outside the bloc. The EU wants to change that and develop advanced AI on the continent that's in line with its own values. In 2024, former European Central Bank chief Mario Draghi released a report detailing how the EU can harness its economic potential to better compete in areas like tech on the world stage. But some researchers warn that 2 years on, only 30% of the recommendations have been implemented.
It's like a slow growth that's been occurring, but that has led to so many gaps and so many regulations that it's really hard to say that the report has, converted some actual momentum.
Europe is lagging in the AI race, and some analysts say it could benefit from focusing on other areas in the tech space.
If you take quantum, Europe has, you could say, not a first mover advantage, but a good chance to come ahead, because Europe has a lot of leading startups which are doing great. Europe also has a good comparative advantage and specialization capacity in quantums.
The EU recently launched its tech sovereignty package, a series of measures to strengthen its cloud computing, AI and semiconductor industries. In an increasingly fierce battle for dominance, Europe hopes these policy decisions will prove to be a quantum leap.
That was William Denslow reporting.
Thank you very much. That was Wang Zihang with Business. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in sports, world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka's 50th WTA 1000 win.
Sideline Story brings you all things sports related. The hottest topics, latest events, juiciest stories, all with a very personal take. Subscribe to Sideline Story Podcast for heated sports discussions covering events that are happening in China and around the world.
Now it's 46 minutes past the hour. Turning to sports, here's Yang Guang.
Thank you, Tianlu. In tennis, from the Western and the Southern Open in Cincinnati, world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka dispatched China's Wang Xinyu in straight sets, 6-1, 6-3 in just 54 minutes. The Belarusian raced to a 3-love lead and never looked back, avenging her comeback win over Wang at the Australian Open 4 years ago. As Grand Slam doubles champion, Wang showed some fine net play but couldn't handle Sabalenka's power. The 4-time major singles winner secured her 50th career WTA 1000 level victory as top seed. She will face unseeded Czech player Sarah Bejlek in the round of 16 next.
Well, yeah, I cannot complain. She's a tough opponent, and to get this win in straight sets and under an hour, it's insane result. I'm super happy to be through. I think I really trusted myself. I was just going for my shots without overthinking, and I think that was the weapon of tonight's match. And I'm super happy I was able to stay focused and to be, in every point.
2023 champion Coco Gauff is through to the last 16 after beating An Li in straight sets. China's Wang Xiyu reached the last 16 for the first time as her third-round opponent Elina Svitolina withdrew. Wang will now take on Madison Keys for a quarter-final berth. In the women's doubles, Chinese pair Zhang Shuai and Jiang Xinyu advanced into the quarter-finals. They beat their opponents 6-1, 6-2. Top-seeded Taylor Fritz has cruised past Daniel Merida 6-3, 6-4 in Cincinnati, reaching his second Masters 1000 round of 16 this season. The world number 9 won his first title above ATP 250 level in 4 years just weeks ago in Washington, and also has run-up finishes in Dallas, Halle and Stuttgart this year. The former US Open finalist will next play Christopher O'Connell. In a major upset, Brandon Nakashima rallied from a set down to stun fourth-seeded Daniil Medvedev in 3 sets. In other tennis news, Nick Kyrgios has been provisionally suspended after testing positive for cocaine at ATP event in Mallorca on June the 22nd. The Australian confirmed the result on Instagram, calling it a huge mistake and taking full responsibility. He cited the physical and mental toll of recent injuries as context, but offered no excuses. Kyrgios says he will step away from public life for 28 days to focus on getting himself right. In football action from the Chinese Super League, Shanghai Shenhua fell 3-0 to Beijing Guoan. Guoan's veteran keeper Hou Sen made brilliant saves to deny Chen Jingyi and Rafael Rato. Just before halftime, Ramos put Guoan ahead after a rebound. Shenhua's Raul Teixeira missed a golden chance to equalize. Hou continued his heroics, tipping Luis Asu's header over the bar. Cao Yongjin made it 2-0 and Jiang Shizhe sealed the 3-0 win. Barcelona has completed the signing of Rodri from Manchester City in a transfer said to be worth €76.5 million. The 30-year-old has signed a 4-year deal and arrives after a successful 7-year spell with City. He won 4 Premier Leagues and the Champions League during his time at Etihad. On the international front, Rodri guided Spain to the Euros title in 2024, which led to a Ballon d'Or, and most recently the World Cup, where he also received the Golden Ball as the tournament's best player. Rodri says leaving Man City was hard, but he is grateful and ready for a new career chapter.
I am very happy to be here with all of you. Today is a very special day for me, my people and my family. A new and very important chapter in my career. It's been a tough decision. Firstly, because I had to leave Manchester City, a club that has given me absolutely everything, and where I've been very happy during all these past years. I will be forever grateful for all we've been able to achieve and everything they've given me. I want to thank them for understanding this was a moment for me to go and allow my exit.
Meantime, Anthony Gordon should play at the Camp Nou for the first time when Barca host Egyptian side Al Ahly in the preseason friendly later Wednesday.
It's been an amazing first week. I've loved every minute. It's new for me. It's a new city, new country, obviously new teammates, new staff, but it's been an amazing experience. Everybody has made me feel so welcome. The guys are so nice, so friendly. And the coach's idea I knew before. That's why I wanted to come here also, because I like this style of play. I can't wait. I'm so excited to see the stadium, to wear the Barca kit in the stadium, and to spend time with fans, see them for the first time. Hopefully score a goal, win a game, everything.
Gordon joined from Newcastle on a 5-year contract. And finally, China's men's gymnastics team is set for the Aichi Nagoya Asian Games, with world all-around champion Zhang Boheng and Olympic parallel bars gold medalist Zhou Jingyuan leading the squad. Captain Zhang won 3 golds at Hangzhou and plans to test the high-difficulty moves in Japan. Competing in his 3rd Asian Games, Zhou will enter the parallel bars, pommel horse and reins events. Both veterans also face the World Championships in Rotterdam soon after, but they are heading to Japan full of confidence.
Thank you very much. That was Yang Guang with sports. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in culture and entertainment, a new Spider-Man poster with elements of traditional Chinese culture.
From north to south, east to west, people in China are chasing their dreams and leaving their mark. Want to know how they beat the odds and made a difference? Footprints brings you the true life stories of their journeys.
Now it's 52 minutes past the hour, turning to culture and entertainment. A new poster for the latest installment of Hollywood hit Spider-Man is taking social media by storm, created exclusively for the Chinese market. The artwork blends the story with elements of traditional Chinese culture. The design team says the Eastern visuals are winning over global fans. Zhang Mengyuan has the story.
3, 2, 1! Here we go!
The Spider-Man Brand New Day China exclusive poster went viral after its global premiere in China, with international fans calling it the most stunning movie poster of the year. What makes this poster so special? It's not just a simple Chinese-style makeover. The design team drew on Eastern narrative perspectives to tell Spider-Man's story from the inside out.
Traditionally, we'd use ink-wash elements for surface-level packaging. But this time, we asked ourselves, can we use an Eastern narrative perspective to express the core of this Spider-Man story? Using Ne Zha and the Lotus to convey Spider-Man rediscovering himself and embarking on a new heroic journey. That was our breakthrough.
The design drew on Dunhuang-style symmetry, Chinese gradient washes, and a refined red and blue palette. The team also noted a key difference between Eastern and Western visual language.
Western visuals tend to show a hero's powers and crises in a very direct way. But from an Eastern perspective, we can start from the story itself and present something softer, more emotional.
The team hopes this success will encourage more Hollywood studios to premiere in China and give Chinese creative perspectives greater global visibility.
That was Zhang Mengyuan reporting. China's top acrobatic troupe has been wowing audiences in Lima, Peru, with its spectacular show, The Last Dragon. Inspired by ancient legends, the performance features breathtaking acts from spinning parasols to dazzling juggling that the audience in awe. Viewers like Brian Ramos and Midori Shikiya were impressed.
I've been to many circuses, and honestly, I've never seen such a beautiful, cultural and representative performance as the one they've given us today.
Their culture is really beautiful, honestly. The training is really good, and the show has been quite good.
Adding to the fun was clown Bobby Cruel making his first visit to Peru with classic slapstick comedy.
This one is very nice show and very liked. People very enjoy and very hot. I really wanted to every city to seem like these people. We are coming. Peru is very nice.
Founded in 1950, the China National Acrobatic Troupe has performed in over 80 countries and won 72 gold medals worldwide. The Shanghai Science and Technology Museum has just welcomed its 100 millionth visitor since opening. A family from Shandong province was the lucky winner, receiving an exclusive gift package. The museum is now China's only integrated complex combining a science museum, a natural history museum, and an astronomy museum. The main venue first opened in 2001, later joined by 2 branches. After a major renovation that wrapped up this year, the museum has added humanoid robots and many more interactive exhibits. The museum hopes young visitors to truly experience the wonders of technology through hands-on exploration. Now it's 57 minutes past the hour, checking the forecast before we go. Beijing will be cloudy tonight, tomorrow thunder showers, the low is 23 and it's up to 30 on Thursday. Shanghai will be overcast tonight, tomorrow light rain with a low of 27 and a high of 31. Chongqing will be overcast tonight, tomorrow light rain with a low of 26 and a high of 35. Nanchang will be cloudy tonight and tomorrow with a low of 28 and a high of 35. Lhasa will have light rain tonight and tomorrow with a low of 11 and a high of 21. Elsewhere in Asia, Islamabad will see moderate rain tonight, easing to light tomorrow. The low is 25 and it's up to 33 on Thursday. Vientiane will have rainstorms tonight, easing to moderate rain tomorrow with a low of 24 and a high of 28. That's it for this edition of the Beijing Hour Making News today. The Macao Special Administrative Region has unveiled its third 5-year plan for economic and social development. China's Zhuzhe 3 rocket has made history with the country's first land-based recovery of the first stage booster. On behalf of the staff, this is Tianlu in the Chinese capital. Hoping you'll join us for the next edition of the Beijing Hour and open a window to the world together.
The best military commander is not he who fights 100 battles and wins every one of them. The best military strategy does not lead to the desiccation of the enemy's capital city. Decoding the Art of War will help you understand why there's no art in war and how Sun Tzu stayed undefeatable using the science of war, with fun stories and insightful breakdown of famous battles. Find Decoding the Art of War wherever you listen.
A poem for the Tibetan antelope, the gentle spirit of the Qinghai Seazon Plateau, spoken by voices from across the world. Every spring, female antelopes migrate hundreds of miles to Zhuonai Lake to give birth. as we build gentle passages for their journey.
Hello, little Tibetan antelope. Eyes opening to the light for the very first time.
To see a world in a grain of sand, and a heaven in a wild flower.
So much wonder calls for so much courage. But have no fear. The way home is right there, waiting for you.
From the snows of Kunlun to the winds of Tangula, the wilderness will teach me to be strong.
But the call of life itself never ceases.
A train runs toward the horizon. A road stretches through the wilderness.
The bridge that soars through the clouds is no barrier across the land, but a gateway to where I truly belong.
Tibetan antelope's hoofprints loosen the soil, letting snow melt sink into the earth.
Human presence passes through,
but we've never walked this land alone.